Good afternoon, everybody. Wee Paddy from across the shuck, and you're very welcome back. This is a response to a video I watched on Fun Knife Friday, which was from Tom at Knife Delights. Please go and follow his channel. He's on YouTube. He's not that long about on YouTube, but he shows a lot of older type knives and a lot of sheath knives, old American brands, all sorts. He's just a fantastically knowledgeable and just a really gentle soul. That's the way I would describe him, and I love watching his videos. But anyhow, he done a video yesterday on a knife that he had found for $4 in a thrift shop or second-hand shop, whichever you want to call it. It's a knife that probably a lot of knife users or lovers probably wouldn't have bought, but to me it was a gem, an absolute gem. But even more importantly, and this is a bit that I want to get to today about how important it is to enthuse the younger ones to go look back a bit and see what came before them. Tom's enthusiasm yesterday was like a schoolboy, and he's like myself, he's over 40, and his enthusiasm was absolutely amazing. And I can identify with it so much because not only do I have a YouTube channel, not only do I have lots of knives, but I'm a knife collector. I'm not deep into history, but I love just following the history of knives and trying to collect older knives that are just for me. I don't do many videos on them. Some of these you'll have seen before that I'm going to show this morning, but it's just that one knife in particular, and it was a boy's knife, and it was probably between the 1900s to the 1930s, that sort of era of knife, and they were called a dime knife. That was because that's what they cost. They were a knife made for everyday man. It was stamped metal, sometimes cheap metal. They started off with just flat brass, then it went to tin and all sorts. But they were a very cheap made knife. But finding one, it's just a joy. And I got one. The one that I'm going to show in particular today was a gifted one. But the other ones that I picked up at second-hand shops, on Etsy, anywhere at all, I'm always hunting for them. But his had a bale and chain, and for those he was trying to explain what a bale and chain was, and I just thought I would do this. I wanted to show him my knife, but the bale and chain, this is what a bale and chain was. It had this little sort of lobster hook, and you just put it over your button. The button went in here, and then you clipped it down, and the knife went in your pocket on a long chain. Purely because although they were only a dime in those days to a relatively poor family would have been a lot of money. But it's a knife that they could have maybe afforded to buy for their son. A father could have bought for his son for his first knife or whatever. But he didn't want them losing it, running about and losing it. So the bale and chain was just an inevitable part of getting your new knife then, I would have thought. They didn't all have them, and they didn't. The bale and chain didn't last forever. But geez, they still make the knives with them on it, although nobody has the button sort of hold anymore on trousers. I just think it was fantastic, but it was the enthusiasm that got me. So this is the Levine's book, which is a great book to go in and find out about the older knives. Just it's so much information in it, but it's not too hard to read. It's simple information on all sorts of different knife shapes, fixed and folded. So there it is. This is the second edition one. I got this for 20 quid on eBay or Etsy. Well worth it. Look, it's a solid, good, thick book. Well worth it if you're into your knives and you want to follow it. But Tom, this is my one. This was given to me by Bob DeMarco, the knife junkie. He had sent this over. He'd got it and he wasn't going to use it or do anything with it. And he said, would you like it? And sent it over to me. And I am over the moon because this is a George Wolstenholme, which was a UK maker, made a lot of knives in the US and over here in the UK. This is my version of it, which is virtually the same as yours, but without the bale, without that the clevis that you could put a bale on. But a great example. This one was a little bit better, Nick. Not much. I mean, if you can see, my blade had been sharpened because the end of the knife is where you've done most of your cutting. It was sharpened nearly to a point. But I reckon Tom could fix us up, no problem. But I didn't restore it much. I gave it a good clean up. But the personal filth of years is ingrained into that sort of stamped metal. which just makes this, and it's starting to pit a wee bit. I put a bit of oil on it. I don't do anything with it. I haven't tried to take it off. I think somebody had done a wee bit of restoration before, but to me this is perfect. It's a sort of little knife that, honestly, you could actually take it out and use it. It's a perfect little knife. I'm just going to show you. All I done was strop an edge. These were carbon steel, and it's like a little scalpel, genuinely. The blade is so thin. If I can show you, it's just so thin a blade. I could use this today. For most of my tasks, I could use this today. But I don't, because I don't want to. I want to keep it. And I'm just hoping that one day one of my grandsons will get interested in knives and I can hand him my collection down before I get the wooden overcoat on. But I just thought, while I've got it out, I'll show some of the other knives that I collect that are outside the realms of normal YouTube videos. I love these cheaper knives. And when you go to the early part of the 19th century, when knife making was starting to take off, there was all sorts of simple knives that they were cheap. This one's in aluminium or something of that ilk. Maybe not aluminium, yeah. But anyway, it's a lovely, this is a little French knife, the Benedictine liqueur. Beautiful little knife. This is a two-bladed pen knife, whereas that's a jackknife. But lovely nick, really lovely nick on this one. And you could definitely use this, but just for that, I don't. It's in my collection. And these old advertising knives, which are again cheaply made, just front cover, couple of pins. That was it. Little pen knives, easy open for your little pen blade. They're in great nick. And this would have been the start of the stainless steel era, in the 30s, because a lot of these are stainless steel. But there's old sayings on them, like Obridge's lung tonic. That just gets me. When I see this, I thought, have to have it, because it's that old way of speaking, that old way of giving it over for coughs and colds. Obridge's lung tonic. I just think the sound of it is fantastic. And these little pen knives this is a carbon steel one. I can't see who the maker is, but that's not the point. They're just all little knives. This one's advertising Dettol, which is a bleach over here in the UK. But this firm here, Rickett & Sons Limited, made a lot of these little advertising knives for companies. But they were inexpensive knives that anybody could have had. Here is an old one from probably the Second World War era. You can see the 2 arrow stamp there. Well, I hope you can. This was issued to the troops towards the end of the Second World War, I have since found out. Absolutely love it. It's just a simple little pen knife. It's carbon steel again, but I haven't done much to it. I've made an edge on it, and that's it. It'll probably never get used except for cutting a wee bit of paper. This sort of knife, the old ring knife, I didn't even know how these worked when I bought this. And what it is, it's just a ring through a bolt that's attached to the knife. And this is for ladies who had nails, or, gentlemen with their gloves on. You just twist, grab the little ring pull. Listen to that. Listen to the snap. Isn't that just fantastic? That to me is invention of something that didn't need to be invented. But what a cracking little tool for ladies to carry in their purse. I just think it's lovely. Beautiful little knife. And the excitement of finding these little knives, which are of no cost, but they are of value to me as a knife collector. And I've even started now in the modern ones, the Swiss Army ones, going back a few years. This is just their wee pen knives. This is a Perona, just a Swiss Army knife, Elanox, you'll see on there. It's just, this must be a watch company, Perona, Yamaha organs, Monster, no idea, but I love the green colour, so I got it. So I can collect from, the beginning. And look, I have quill knives from the 1800s, which are just amazing. I should get one out, shouldn't you, and show you this is what a real old quill knife looks like. I think I've showed this recently in a video, but look at that little tiny blade on that. And that's fantastic. This is from the 1800s. Just still got snap. Amazing. So, don't let the price of knives put you off. Look for the age of something. Take a chance. Like, even Tom, I think, didn't realise what he had until he got home and had a wee look at it. He had seen it and he just was bitten by I've got to have that. And I just love that. I really do love it. So, Tom, this is just showing you a couple of mine. I have a drawer full of old knives that I found in junk shops, some that are destroyed and wrecked, some that I've revamped and brought back to life, and I use some of them. So, just to let you know that there's somebody else out there that's got the enthusiasm. And if you've got any old knives like this, please do a video on it. Please stick a video up on your old knives, even if they're battered and worn. Like, you'll go and see Tom's, please. Do you see how battered it is? But he can repair it. I think he'll do it sympathetically, because that's Tom and me would sort of be like that. I don't want to ruin it, but I want to just, all I want is it to look like a knife and have an edge on it. And that then becomes part of my collection. I'll never use it again. I don't want it all shiny. So there you go, folks. That's mine. I've waffled on long about it, but I just got hit so much by Tom's passion and enthusiasm yesterday for a $4 knife. These cost a dime, 10 cents, halfpenny, whatever it would have been here at the time. But and there's still, this is still going 100 years on. This is still a knife that could be used. It's actually solid. I think Tom's, it's a wee bit of a wobble, but the pin just needs a thump and you lock it up again. They're just battered pins. You can see it with an old hammer with a couple of lines in it. Actually, Harrison described it really well in our podcast with him. But I just love it. So there we go, Tom. That's 11 minutes of just waffle, but I just want to... This is still the knife world. Never mind your 600. This is still the knife world. Take care. Paddy's gone. Bye-bye now.